4, 3, 2. Good afternoon, or I guess good morning. Welcome to the special City Council meeting of September 28th. I'd like to call this meeting to order and ask that you all rise for the singing of our national anthem.
True patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you to the National Film Boards for the images of our country, and thank you to our very own award-winning Tenille Towns for the singing of our national anthem. I would like to just check with Councillor O'Toole if he could mute his phone, as he is joining us online through his phone. In the chambers today with us, we have Councillor Thiessen, Councillor Bosch, Councillor Bressie, Councillor O'Toole, and Councillor Berg. What did I say? Oh, sorry, my apologies. O'Connor is in person and O'Toole is online. Looking for one discussion item today, looking for introduction from administration, and I'll turn this over to Mr. Manuel.
Not sure. There we go. Okay, thank you very much. So the agenda item in front of us today is a carryover from yesterday's Council Committee of the Whole meeting, which was a summary of the initial police service review conducted for the City of Grande Prairie. So by way of background, City Council budget 2021 had capital project funding to perform a police service review, which ultimately commenced in March 2022 with the intent of assessing the current and possible future policing service delivery models for the City of Grande Prairie. At that time, the primary driving factor was discussion around potential changes to policing provincially and what impacts that could potentially have on the City of Grande Prairie, who receives our municipal policing via a municipal police service contract through the provincial police service provider, which at this point is the RCMP. So the intent behind completing the police service review was to inform council and the Municipal Police Advisory Committee of the essentially current state and as well as a potential alternative states of policing for the City of Grande Prairie. The report that was delivered yesterday indicated what those states were as seen by our project team, and additionally made a further recommendation that council authorize up to $250,000 for the development of a detailed transition and community engagement plan to further assess one of the options within the initial police service review, which was essentially a detailed analysis of what would be involved with a municipal police service for the City of Grande Prairie. Some of the things that could be expected as part of that next phase would be a better understanding of the necessary regulatory planning, community engagement, staffing, equipment, training, records management, technology, operational steps, and funding requirements and timelines associated to establishing a municipal police service. So certainly weren't looking for direction to establish one, but to be well informed on the detailed information pertaining to what would be involved if such a decision was made, as well as what the financial implications and potential funding opportunities are for such.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Mr. Manuel. I will now look to council to see if there are questions. And I just remind council, if your questions tend to be of a in-camera nature, I ask that you save those, and I will just check to council if there are in-camera questions so we can do them all at once. So for now, questions for administration, recognizing Councillor Bressie.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Clayton. Just one question that came up for me as I was rereading the report last night is I just want to make 100% sure I understand the statistics of this report around recruitment and retention. In the executive summary, there's a statistic that talks about 50% of supervisor positions were vacant and being filled by acting members. And on page 75 of the report, there's a talk about how many, the average length of service of constables, how many were new in the detachment. I just want to make sure my understanding is correct. Are those statistics their point in time statistics, right? Not an average of a period of time?
Correct. That was a particular point in time earlier this year. I think it was April, but it was point in time.
And is there any reason that that particular point in time was chosen, or was that just when you happened to be doing it?
That just happened to be the time that we're looking at that particular statistic.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Councillor Berg.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. So my question, I know could easily be answered by Councillor Bressie because I had asked him earlier. So I didn't recall in our term on council that this had been initiated. So I'd asked him when it was initially initiated, and it's actually been almost 2 years ago. I just wanted that out there, that this isn't kind of a thing that we're reacting to the province or anything. This has actually been well thought out, well planned. And so I believe it was November 2020 when this was requested from council. So just kind of wanted that out there in the public forum for those that may have forgotten.
Great, thanks for that, Councillor Berg. It's a very good point. As mentioned, Councillor Bressie made a motion in November of 2020 to initiate this process, and it's been an ongoing process. Now the report has come back to council for consideration. I don't have anyone else in the queue. I will just check online. I don't have any questions from Councillor O'Toole. Councillor O'Connor.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Clayton. I think it's really important with the uncertainty of where policing is overall across Canada. And I think it's important for our citizens to know that at any point in time, the federal government could remove contract policing. And I think it's important for us to now to lead and plan ahead and make sure that we are prepared in the inevitability that that happens. Add that to what's happening with the province's review on the Alberta Provincial Police Force. Do we want somebody else controlling what we want? Or do we want to take charge and make sure that the safety of our citizens are taken into consideration of what we expect for policing? And I think it's important that we do that. So that's just a comment, and want to make sure if you want to respond to that, Director Manuel or Mr. Lee.
No, I don't believe there's any response necessary. It's an accurate representation of the intent behind the review.
Thank you for that. Councillor Bosch.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. I think just for the public to know, yesterday we talked at Council Committee of the Whole on this subject matter, and you know, we had 40, 50 questions between all of us. So I would encourage our citizens to look at that committee meeting, and perhaps if you have questions, we've already asked them. And if there is more, of course, then, you know, we'll deal with that as they come. But I would hope that you would look at what was asked already and the information that was given to us by our presenters in regards to where we're standing at this point in time.
On that point, I just remind those who may be watching now, the discussion today on whether or not to authorize the development of a detailed transition and community engagement plan will take care of just that. The intent of the engagement plan is for the residents, for businesses, for the region, for people to come forward and share their concerns, ask their questions. This won't be a 1 week engagement plan. This will be a very thorough, detailed engagement plan that in turn brings back information to council. So I encourage you, and I will also encourage council to encourage people to get involved in this conversation. It's extremely important for us to know what our residents think on this topic. I know Councillor O'Toole has a question. Just give me 1 second, Councillor O'Toole. Okay. Councillor O'Toole, you had a question?
Yeah, just a remark regarding the police report. Back in 2010, 2011, there was discussions about, it was just council not making any motion, but it was just, we were looking at an interest in pursuing the possibility of maybe a municipal police force back then. We took it lightly, but there was an interest in looking into it back in 2010, 2011. So it goes back a long ways, is all I'm saying.
Okay, thanks for your comment. Councillor Bressie.
Great, thank you, Mayor Clayton. I'm just not hearing a lot of questions. I'm hearing discussion. Yeah. So would you like me to make a motion?
That'd be great. Appreciate that.
Awesome. So I'll make the original motion as discussed, and I also do have a couple follow-up motions I hope to make if it passes. But the first one I'll make is the recommended one, and that is council authorize up to $250,000 from Council Strategic Initiatives Fund for the development of a detailed transition and community engagement plan to further assess the opportunity to establish. Scroll down to your script. To further assess the opportunity to establish a municipal police service for the city of Grande Prairie. And just to speak to this, this is something that, as I said, we initiated a couple years ago, and I think it's just good governance. We routinely have conversations as council, and I think they happen even more at the administration level, of when is it appropriate to contract out a service, and when is it appropriate to do that in-house. I know that at council table, I remember conversations around snow removal, around filling, around fixing roads, around operating recreation centers, around mowing grass, around property tax assessments, and I could go on and on again about this is just good governance to think what is the best way to offer a service. And when this is our most expensive service, and I think most residents would say our most important service, it just becomes even more important to have good governance over it. So that's why I wanted to initiate this review, to look at what is the best possible option. And it's telling me that there might, and again, that might, I'm emphasizing, be merits forming a municipal police service. And for that reason alone, I think it is worth getting more operational details and, more importantly, having really robust conversations with our community about what should the future of policing in Grande Prairie look like. Just for local reasons alone, I think this conversation is worthwhile. But I think when I look at what's going on provincially and a little bit when I look at what's going on federally, it becomes even more important. I think there is potential that we see major change to RCMP municipal policing. And if we do see that, I want us to be well prepared to go our own way if we think that'll be the best route for our residents and our community. So for me, I don't have my mind made up on whether we should have a municipal police service or RCMP, but I really do have my mind made up that we need to have more conversation and be opening up our options in the future. So I hope that council will support this, and if council passes this, I hope that our community will get very involved in learning what's going on and having their say.
Thanks for that. Comments or questions on the motion? Councillor Bosch.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. You know, just looking at this police service review that was presented to us yesterday, and, you know, we had the notes prior to read through, the fact that many municipalities over 50,000 people look at this structure. This isn't something that we're just, you know, pulling out of our hat. This is something that we need to do as a municipality to see what path we should take. Do we stay where we're at? Do we go to something new? So I think this study will help us make that decision. Aside of the study, public engagement. And we have to recognize how policing is done now is changing, and what once was isn't what it is now. We have many layers of service, from misdemeanors to mental health to serious crimes, and not everything is done in the manner that it was done 30 years ago. So I think it's prudent of council and administration to look at what our future looks like in policing. This is important to our community, and we do have to, look after ourselves. So again, I'm going to be voting yes to the review or study, whatever you want to call it, because I think it's our responsibility as a municipality to see what others are doing and what other, whether it's in Alberta or it's in Europe. It doesn't matter. The fact is you have to keep your eyes open to how things are done and not just do it because it was done one way. So thank you for the motion, Mr. Bressie.
Thanks so much. Recognize Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you very much, Mayor Clayton. First off, I'd like to thank our administration for all the hard work that they put into this excellent report that was placed before council. It gave us lots to digest and lots of good stats and comparables. Yeah, I look forward to more of that in the public consumption. I'd also like to thank Councillors Bressie and O'Toole for really driving this forward. Councillor O'Toole is the best cheerleader for any cause, and usually things happen when he gets behind it. So I want to thank Kevin O'Toole for that, and Dylan for that passion that he showed in bringing this forward. It was 8 years ago that I thought maybe we should get into a municipal police force, but then when the costs were broken down to me, I said, oh, I guess this is probably easier and stuff like that. But there are some things that we can gain just through understanding. Like, if we have our own municipal police force, what this review engagement is going to do, it's going to help us understand better how we can recruit members to our police force and how we can retain members to our police force. I think the report was very clear, and we know this as council. The average length of stay for a police officer deployed in Grande Prairie is about 2.8 years, which isn't enough really to get your feet in the community, to feel attached to the community and want the best out of the community. Sometimes it's, oh, once my 3 years is up, I can go to Kelowna, or I can go someplace where I want to go, and hopefully, that'll be good. I think what Grande Prairie is kind of looking to gain through this is maybe the opportunity to have a bit of our own police sovereignty, I guess, and keeping the streets safer is probably the biggest question mark that I have going forward, and that I look forward to this review engagement. $250,000 is a lot of money, but if it can answer all the questions that I think, like we posed yesterday, as Councillor Boss said, over 50 questions. I dare you to go watch it all, but it was good, and our administration carried through with their great answers. But I think this might help us with better recruitment, better retention, better safety, and if it doesn't, then at least we can be satisfied that we looked into it, and as Councillor Boss said, we found out what was best for the citizens of Grande Prairie. My interest is in how can we keep people safe, how can we retain members more, and how can we recruit better. And who knows, maybe like so many other things, we'll be pioneers for a municipal police force and a municipal police force training system here, if that's what it comes out to, and people come to Grande Prairie instead of other depots otherwhere to get their proper training. So I look forward to the report, and I also will be voting in support of this motion here today. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments, Councillor Berg, and then I'll jump in the queue and I'll look to Councillor Bressie to close.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. So yes, I'll be voting in favor of this as well. When I had seen the initial $250,000, I was a little bit surprised at the price, but in the greater context of the RCMP and the investment that we put in it at ballpark, roughly $30 million a year, you multiply that by 3 years and you're at 90. So in the greater context, this is a very sound investment. Now, this is not just about money, it's also about service. And much of what your report had yesterday of the 119 pages was around improved service. So there's 2 check marks that need to be done here. One is financial, but of course the second one is public safety. And I'm very confident, seeing the expertise and the knowledge that went into the previous report, that us investing this money will see another amazing report come forward that will inform council on a positive direction. So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Berg. Councillor Bosch. Well, I do, but I'll speak last, so.
Okay. I was just hoping if you could just put out who would be doing this report and study. Like you did mention it yesterday, but I think it's important for people to see.
Mr. Mann?
No.
Yes, certainly. So the initial report here was primarily conducted using internal resources and some subject matter expertise with Mr. Newton here, as well as some other resources. However, this next phase, we're looking to use a third-party expertise in companies to provide a more independent analysis. Now, certainly we'll have a continued project team that works with that group and provides, local insight and facilitates information flow and those sorts of things. But the community engagement and the ultimate drafting and preparation, delivery of the transition report, engagement report, will be done by a third party.
Thanks, Councillor Bosch. I just wanted to show my support. I believe that this report will be significant in our decision making. It will come back as a detailed transition plan. It will help us make a better decision. It will be so detailed and granular that it will show the impacts, the costs, the risks, and the benefits. I also think that in order for us to proceed with this transition, we need to have a better understanding of how it impacts our organization and other departments. So this detailed assessment will show us how it impacts IT and human resources, administration, and many other things. I think that the public consultation required to help us understand what the community wants and needs is what we will get from this report. I also think it's a perfect funding source because, as identified and established last term, the council strategic initiatives are for exactly items such as this. So I encourage council to vote for this in favor of it, and I look forward to the report. We will hope to see the report back in early 2023, and again, encourage the community to get involved, get engaged. And I'll just look to Councillor Bressy to close.
Well,
oh, sorry. Well, you didn't indicate you wanted to speak. Councillor O'Toole. Go ahead.
Go ahead, let him speak.
No, you're on the mic now. Go ahead.
Okay. I totally agree with the final comments that Mayor Clayton had mentioned. This is going to affect our organization immensely. How it will, I don't know, but that's what the report's for. And for the last 8 years, I've been wondering why we haven't started working on a municipal police force strategy. Now it's started on, and I want to thank everybody that's involved in this. And it goes back, there's a lot of heartache, a lot of work, and a lot of fact gathering. And with that, I'm totally in favor of going to the next step. Thank you.
All right, Councillor Bressy to close.
great, thank you. I've got to confess, I've had a few, oh boy, moments throughout this whole process. When I first brought this to council to initiate this, I honestly didn't know if it would pass. Funding the study, and when it did, I realized that's a lot of work and big conversation, and I have that moment again where it definitely would be easiest just to say, hey, we're going to keep on with the status quo. But again, I just think it's good governance to explore other options and make sure that we, at the end of the day, we have the best possible option for our community. Something that probably goes without being said, but probably shouldn't, though, is that this is not about our RCMP members that we have here in Grande Prairie and the very excellent women and men who are serving at the front lines and serving in detachment and supervising those frontline people here in Grande Prairie. I've got nothing but respect for our current members, and I've got a huge amount of faith in our detachment leadership right now. And they're talented, dedicated, smart, good people. That this isn't a criticism of them. It really is, though, what is the overall system that they work within, and what is the best possible system for us to have local governance and local priorities reflected in our policing. And my hope is, at the end of the day, I want to equip our officers who are keeping our community safe in the best way possible. And there might, and again, it's a big might, but there might be a better way to equip Grande Prairie officers than having them serve in a contracting relationship. And so that's why I want further investigation. Not just for our individual members, but just we're looking at the system here. And so I do encourage council to support further work and further community engagement on this.
All right, thanks for that close, Councillor Bressy. I will now call the question. Please vote. And Councillor O'Toole, how do you vote? Sorry, give me 1 second. If you can say that again.
In favor.
Thank you.
Councillor Thiessen in favor.
Councillor Bosch in favor.
And that carries unanimously. I understand Councillor Bressie has another motion.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. I actually have two more motions if the chair will permit. But my first one is council direct administration to provide council and the Municipal Police Advisory Committee with project milestones and a community engagement plan. And just speak to this, my intent of this motion is not to say, hey, don't go and start the work right now, spend a couple weeks or a couple months making a really great report and then get council's approval to go on. I think my opinion is administration should start the work right away. But as they're starting that work, I just like to check in with council of what is their work plan, especially when it comes to public engagement, so that we can be as transparent with the public as possible. I really think that transparency is key in this, but also so that we can shape it if we feel that it's not going to deliver us the results we need. So I hope the council will pass this motion.
Thanks for your comments, Councillor Bressie. I think it's a great motion. I assumed it would probably have happened anyways, but it's fair enough to have it noted, especially in particular, as you mentioned, with the community engagement. The expectations from council on community engagement may differ from the third-party contractor, and so we need to make sure that all the expectations of council in this significant amount of money that are being spent are met. So I encourage council to support this motion. I'll just check with Councillor O'Toole. Did you have any comments on the motion?
I was thinking that all the time, that we could have some feedback on where things are going and timelines, but I think it's all caught up in that motion, so we're good.
Okay.
I'm in favor.
I'll call the question. Councillor O'Toole, how do you vote?
In favor.
Thank you for that.
Councillor Thiessen in favor.
Councillor Thiessen votes in favor.
Councillor Bosch in favor.
Councillor Bosch in favor. That carries unanimously. Councillor Bressie, you had another motion for consideration.
Yeah, thank you. This is the last piece of business I hope to bring up. It is a little bit more specific, but I did share with the recording secretary, so it is in eScribe if anybody wants to see it. And that is that council direct administration to provide council and the Municipal Police Advisory Committee with another point in time look at the statistics found in the Police Model Review Study 5.3.2 under retention and the number of supervisor positions which are vacant and being filled by members in an acting role. And just speak to us. I know both at the Police Advisory Committee table and at the council table, a lot of weight was given to those statistics, and they are concerning for a number of reasons. But I also always do have worry about point-in-time counts, just because you might have caught at an abnormal time. And for me, there's enough other evidence that I'm comfortable moving forward with the detailed transition plan just based on that one point-in-time count. But I think that when we get to the point of deciding do we want major change, I'm not comfortable making that based on just a one point in time count. So I'd like another point in time count. If we see significant differences there, then maybe we need to direct further work with analysis of averages, or I don't know. But at least for now, I want to get one more point in time count to make sure that we didn't just accidentally pick a really abnormal time. I think would be prudent.
Right, that motion is in order. Councillor Bosch.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. For me, I'm not sure if it's necessarily a motion. It's an expectation that I would think if we've already done a service review and we're going to do another study and review, that would already be a part of what we're paying the up to $250,000 for. So I'm not sure if we're getting into the weeds of how people do their work, their administrative work. Can you answer to me if this is necessarily a motion?
Well, I will note that the motion is in order. I guess your question for administration is, A, is this something that's easily attained, and B, do you think it's something that's relevant to decision making for council? Mr. Manuel.
So through the mayor, I would say yes to both. I believe it does carry weight, and it's been described to us that it did carry weight in some people's decision making. So I think it is fair to both, do another point in time. But aside from the point in time, if the information's available to us, we would certainly like to provide the averages too, because there is limitations with point in times.
And if I just may follow up on that, I think that council needs to understand that this is not a decision being encouraged or led by administration. This is an opportunity for administration to provide us with as much information through a third-party provider for us to make a solid decision. So
Okay.
I would expect that you will probably see more than 119 pages in the second iteration. So there will be significant information.
I will, say yes to this motion. However, my expectation is that it would be done anyway. So, thank you.
Fair enough. I thought I saw someone else in the queue, but they're out now. Okay, Councillor O'Toole, did you have any comments or questions on the motion on the floor?
I was wondering if you could repeat that motion. I lost a little bit of it.
Sure, I can read it to you. One second. Council direct administration to provide council and the Municipal Policing Advisory Committee with another point in time. Look at the statistics found in the in the police model review study 5.3.2 under retention, and another point in time statistics with the number of positions, supervisor positions that are vacant being filled by members in acting roles.
Yeah, I'll support that.
Okay. So no further comments. Councillor Bresty to close.
Yeah, thank you. I just know for me that these are the numbers that I'm probably paying the most attention to in the report, and that's why, yeah, there's probably a good chance that it would appear there anyways, but I'll tell you, I am not making a final decision on my vote for a future model without having these numbers, and so that's why, just to be safe, I thought it was important to get these explicitly in a motion, because I'd really hate to get to a point however many months from now where the whole report's ready to go, and I'm here at council saying, hold on, I don't know how, I have to vote no because I just don't have the very specific information I need. And for me, this isn't getting in the weeds. This really is at the heart of why I think a municipal police service is worthy of exploration. And so that's why I chose to be explicit in this motion, just to be safe. You're right, I probably didn't need it, but just be 100% safe that I'll have the information I need to consider my vote, and council will have the information that I think it should consider for everybody to make their vote.
Perfect. That is Councillor Bressy's close. I'll call the question. Councillor O'Toole. Councillor O'Toole votes in favor.
Councillor Thiessen in favor.
Okay.
Councillor Bosch in favor.
Okay. And that carries unanimously. Unless I see someone else jumping in the queue or Councillor O'Toole letting me know of any other business. Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you for your time. Bye, Kevin. Thank you.